story? What led you to this moment where you're writing comic books?
Oh yeah, my name is Lubega Louis. I'm from Uganda, East Africa. Obviously, I hope all of you know where East Africa is. I'll just strangle you wherever you are. So, entering into comics, animation, or anything, because I'm currently doing animation in India as a course.
Yeah.
So I started, yeah. So I started doing comics because of one of my cousins called Sally Timothy. So he introduced me to something called anime, and at that time it was an anime called Naruto then. So watching this,
Okay.
yeah, watching this anime really got me excited about the possibilities of animation because the stories were quite different from what I had seen before in the American animations like SpongeBob, uh, Courage the Cowardly Dog. So this was quite different. This was much more
Yeah.
intense. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from that day,
Cool.
I've never looked back. I just went all in.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I guess like I'm in a slightly better position than all the viewers because I've read the first edition of Olwatuuka.
Hmm.
And so maybe you could like just give them like a bit of like a general idea of what the story is, like without giving them too much because I guess that ruins the excitement as well. But
Yeah.
how would you introduce this story to someone who's never read it but wants to read it?
Okay. If you've never read the comic, then you should know that Olwatuuka is an action, adventure, horror, supernatural comic about a kid that goes to the underworld to seek vengeance against a demon that has killed his family and destroyed the world. So it's kind of a sad story, but at the same time, there are comedic bits in it that could make it a bit lighthearted for those who
Yeah.
like that kind of lighthearted thing. But most of the time, it's quite intense. So
Yeah,
if
for
you
sure.
if you if you
I
like
picked up on the comedy
yeah,
and I picked up on the intensity as well.
so if you like your comics intense, then definitely Olwatuuka is for you.
Sounds good. And like with the story, because it's got quite like heavy. It's heavy. It's like a heavy story. It's like you said, it's intense.
Yeah.
Were there like any deeper like messages in there that you really wanted to like push across as well? Like, was there like something that was driving you to like one like theme or like a moral or maybe an experience that was driving this story? Because I mean, I think that like it felt to a degree it felt inspired, especially with this. Like when I found out that this kid was just like a kid, I was like, it's kind of it adds like a degree of like intensity and fear to it because you're like, how is this person gonna manage to survive throughout this whole comic?
Well, let's say yes, there is certain aspects of my life that I put in the comic that I felt, the times in your life when life just kind of breaks you down completely, unexpected events that just make you feel like, damn, what the hell is going on? So I just wanted to put that in there. We don't get this
Yeah.
kind of comics every day. We usually get the comics
For
that
sure.
make you feel good about yourself, but you're not always you're not always in that state. You're not always feeling good. So I just wanted to have something that communicates the other side of life too, the side where we have to accept that the fact that death exists and be okay
Yeah,
with that.
for sure.
You know,
For
it's
sure,
it's
for
yeah,
sure.
it's quite
I
scary,
agree.
but people have to be
Yeah,
okay with it because it's a reality. And if people
definitely.
could just accept it, which most people don't, and we live like we don't, like it doesn't exist, but it's there. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
put that in,
definitely.
yeah, in the comic.
Okay, that was a lot heavier than I was expecting, but good.
It gets
You
heavier.
also mentioned that I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, this is just
This is just
like
a tip of the
disclaimer for
iceberg. I can't
everyone.
tell
This
you
is
everything.
just exactly. This is issue 1, and I'm already like, like but it's worth like, yeah, like it
Yeah.
was heavy, but I was like, what's next? um, so you mentioned earlier as well that Naruto was kind of like what got you into this animation
Yeah.
direction. Um, and I definitely saw some anime aesthetics in the comic book as well, which is cool because it's like it then becomes this kind of like Asian African fusion, which is really interesting to see visually as well. So the visual side, that influence was kind of apparent. Is there any anime influences within the story itself as well? Like the way you structured the story, the characters?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of anime influence in the story. Uh, Even most of the characters in there are kind of influenced by anime in a certain way, though they all get their own African touch and their own touch generally. I didn't want to do something that's so African, like, pushing my story just because I want to say, hey, this is African, please take it because it's African. You ain't read like an African thing yet, right? But that wasn't my that wasn't my intention at all, man. I wasn't like, I wanted, so it does have a few aspects from anime stuff that I like, Bleach, Naruto, Shingeki no Kyojin, which I absolutely love. Yeah, now you get what Olwatuuka is all about. So, One Piece, just to mention a few.
Cool.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you're a young creator as well, which is really, for that reason, it's like very awesome to have you on this team. Like you said, you're currently studying, you're taking a degree, and at the same time putting out this like incredible art as well on top of your studies. So like, hats off to you for that. Like,
thank you. I never get
a lot of respect in your direction for that.
I never get that much compliment.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I'm like, as soon as you told me, I was like, wow. Because when you said you're doing animation in India, I was like, okay, he's gone to India to work in animation. But when you said he's studying, I think people forget how much like extra hours there are in studying. It's not just those classes. You gotta go home. Every lecturer forgets that you have other classes.
Exactly.
So they make their class your whole world. They're like, yeah, 20 hours of reading, have fun. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I have an issue. I have an issue with the education system, but we won't go that far just for this. I could rant like the whole
out of
interview.
interest with like issues. So like I love asking creators this question. Can you think of like one comic book that you read and you were just like, wow, this is awful? You're like the opposite of everything you'd want to put out and create in terms of your artwork. Like, has anyone ever put a comic book in front of you where you read it and you were like, I'm annoyed that this was created. I'm annoyed that this was given to the public.
Yeah, there's one. It's called Killing. It's called Killing Stalking. It is the weirdest comic in existence. Don't read it, please. Don't read it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that the editors can get an image.
But I'm just kidding. If you like the kind of thing, just read it. Okay. But it's just not for me.
Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Interesting. Is there anything else you'd like to share with your readers as well? Just in terms of like, well, actually, personal interest in me, because you are a young creator. Maybe it'd be cool for you to share like your story to getting to this point where you're getting. I don't know how much you've been published in the past, but you're getting published at this point. Any like advice you want to give to like other young African kids who want to get into animation, who want to get into story writing, and who are in this weird bubble where there isn't necessarily a huge market for that? What advice would you give to them?
Oh yeah. If I was to start my story, I never thought I'd actually end up here in India studying animation either, because I didn't think my parents would ever accept that kind of thing. Because for sure in Africa, or even in most places, animation or comics is not seen as a lucrative move to make. Yeah, it's someone, your parent wants you to be a doctor, uh, an engineer, most preferably an architect. So seeing you do things like comics is just a total put off for them. So I started out doing a different course, but when I realized that this is what I really wanted to do, I had a good conversation with the big men, the big lady. Well, the reason why I'm here, and we had to come to a consensus where they would allow me to do what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I'm happy that they accepted in the end. It was not easy to get them to accept, but I had to stand my ground. So if there is any young creator out there who wants to do this kind of stuff, I know the environment is very, very important. Because if your environment if your environment doesn't push you to do this kind of thing, then you're not gonna do it. If your family doesn't want you to do this kind of thing, then you're probably not gonna do it. So if you can have that conversation with the people close to you to a point that they can allow you to do what you want to do, then go ahead. Do have the conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think also if you're watching this and you're in that position, maybe show your parents this video as as part of your presentation. Just be like, hey guys, like, you know, this kid from Uganda and this girl from Zimbabwe, they're doing the comic thing, like they can handle it. So there's that as well. Awesome. Okay. Well, and the final question, I guess, would be like, where do you see this going? Because it seems like you've got like a very well formulated story. The artwork is on point, but like, what do you see as like your kind of like end goal for this comic? And do you have like other stories in mind as well? Like, are there other? Can we be expecting more of your creative endeavors popping up?
Yeah, I do have other stories to tell, but I won't talk about them in this interview. I write Olwatuuka together with Kauchi Andrew and Sally Timothy. So we had a vision when we started out of how we wanted everything to turn out, and what when we're writing the story or talking about it, what we see is it on like the screen. You know, we see it on the screen, watching it as an animated show, and honestly, I'm sure it may not necessarily be Olwatuuka that makes it to the scene, to the TV screen. It may be some other story that we come up with, but yeah, I really think that just trying to push towards that as a goal from the comic to animation, then it's just something worth working for.
For sure, and it sounds completely plausible based on the visuals you guys are giving out as well. So you know you have my backing.
Oh yeah, you talked about
one step forward.
You talked about whether I had been published before, and no, I have not been published before. Kugali will be the first to publish Olwatuuka, so I'm excited about that. Okay,
cool, amazing. Well, it's our honor as well. It's you know, it's like thank you for like. Yeah, thank you for being on board. Because we're also a new company as well. We're still finding our feet, and it's great to be. It's almost like these like artists are just like falling into a lap. So we're like, really, like, because I'm like, really, you're not published? Is this a joke? Like, is someone like, I don't know. It seems like a blessing that we're finding artists like you. So thank you very much as well.
Awesome.